Article 2, obstruction of Congress. The Constitution provides that the House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment and that the President shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. In his conduct of the office of the President of the United States and in violation of his constitutional oath faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and, to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, Donald J. Trump has directed the unprecedented, categorical, and indiscriminate defiance of subpoenas issued by the House of Representatives.
All right, this is massive. Congress is moving to end Trump's presidency using Article 2 of the Constitution. Like, we're not talking about vague threats or political posturing anymore. We're talking about actual impeachment resolutions filed in the House citing Article 2, Section 4, the constitutional provision that allows removal of a president for high crimes and misdemeanors. And these aren't symbolic resolutions. These are detailed articles of impeachment laying out specific charges: tyranny, abuse of power, usurping congressional authority, violating the First Amendment, bribery, and corruption. 7 different articles in one resolution, and then another resolution charging Trump with inciting violence against lawmakers and judges. Now, has the Senate actually voted to remove Trump yet? No. But are impeachment resolutions piling up? Are lawmakers openly calling for his removal? Are advocacy groups organizing around Article 2 language to end what they're calling Trump's regime? Absolutely. And the constitutional framework is crystal clear. Article 2, Section 4 says the president shall be removed from office on impeachment, foreign conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. That's not ambiguous. That's a direct path to removal. And members of Congress are now using that exact language to argue Trump needs to go.
President Trump has abused the powers of the presidency in a manner offensive to and subversive of the Constitution, in that the House of Representatives has engaged in an impeachment inquiry focused on President Trump's corrupt solicitation of the government of Ukraine to interfere in the 2020 United States presidential election. The committee's undertaking the investigation serves subpoenas seeking documents and testimony deemed vital to the inquiry from various executive branch agencies and offices and current and former officials. In response, without lawful cause or excuse, President Trump directed executive branch
agencies. So here's
agency
what's actually happening. In April 2025, Representative Al Green introduced I-Res 353. This is a formal resolution to impeach Donald Trump for high crimes and misdemeanors. And it's not some vague one-page document. It's a comprehensive impeachment resolution with 7 specific articles. Article 1, obstruction of justice. Article 2, usurping Congress's power over appropriations. Article 3, abuse of trade powers and international aggression. Article 4, violating First Amendment rights. Article 5, creating an unlawful office. Article 6, bribery and corruption. Article 7, tyranny. And each article cites specific actions Trump has taken, specific violations of law, specific abuses of power. This isn't just saying Trump is bad. This is building a legal case for removal under Article 2 of the Constitution. And the resolution explicitly says that under Article 2, Section 4, Trump shall be removed from office for these high crimes and misdemeanors. And that's not the only impeachment resolution. In December 2025, Representative Al Green filed another one, 939. This one charges Trump with abuse of power for calling for the execution of 6 Democratic lawmakers. Like Trump allegedly said that Democratic members of Congress should be executed, and Green is arguing that's an impeachable offense. That using presidential power to incite violence against members of Congress, against the legislative branch, is exactly the kind of tyranny that Article 2 is designed to stop. So, you've got multiple impeachment resolutions filed, multiple articles of impeachment laid out, multiple members of Congress saying, we need to use Article 2 to remove Trump from office, and advocacy groups are rallying around this. There's a whole Impeach Trump Again campaign that's organizing petitions, calling members of Congress, building public pressure. And their argument is simple. Trump has violated Article 2. He's abused his power. He's acted like a tyrant. And the Constitution gives us a remedy, impeachment and removal. So use it. Now, here's where it gets a little complicated, because the headline says, Senate invokes Article 2. But technically, that's not how it works. The Senate doesn't invoke Article 2. The House impeaches, then the Senate holds a trial, and if 2/3 of senators vote to convict, then Trump is removed. That's the process. So what's actually happening is that the House has impeachment resolutions ready to go. And if Democrats take control of the House in the November 2026 midterms, they could vote on those resolutions. They could impeach Trump, and then it would go to the Senate for trial. And that's when Article 2 really comes into play, because the Senate would have to decide, do these charges constitute high crimes and misdemeanors? Does Trump's conduct warrant removal under Article 2, Section 4? And if 2/3 of senators say yes, Trump's regime ends. He's removed from office. It's over. So while the Senate hasn't invoked Article 2 yet, all the pieces are in place. The impeachment resolutions are filed, the constitutional language is clear, and if Democrats get the votes, they can pull the trigger. All right, let's dig into what Article 2 actually says and why these impeachment resolutions are so significant. Because most people have heard of impeachment, but they don't really understand the constitutional basis for it. So let's start with the text. Article 2, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution says, "The President, Vice President, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors." That's it. That's the whole section. And it lays out a clear process. If the President commits treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors, he can be impeached by the House and convicted by the Senate. And if convicted, he shall be removed. Not may be removed, shall be removed. It's mandatory. So the Constitution gives Congress the power and really the obligation to remove a president who commits these kinds of offenses. And the impeachment resolutions against Trump are arguing that he's done exactly that his conduct falls squarely within the definition of high crimes and misdemeanors that Article 2 was designed to address. So let's go through the charges. H. 353, the Big 7 article resolution, lays out a comprehensive case. Article 1 is obstruction of justice. The resolution argues that Trump has systematically obstructed investigations into his conduct, that he's interfered with prosecutors, that he's attacked judges and juries, that he's used his power to prevent accountability. And obstruction of justice is explicitly mentioned in past impeachment articles. It was one of the charges against Nixon. It's a classic high crime. Article 2 is usurping Congress's power over appropriations. This is about Trump spending money without congressional approval. The Constitution says Congress controls the purse strings. The president can't just decide to spend federal funds however he wants. But Trump has repeatedly tried to redirect money, freeze funding, use federal dollars for purposes Congress didn't authorize, and the resolution argues that's a violation of the separation of powers. That's tyranny. That's exactly the kind of abuse Article 2 was designed to stop. Article 3 is abuse of trade powers and international aggression. This covers Trump's tariff threats, his Venezuela military operations, his Greenland obsession. The resolution argues that Trump has exceeded his constitutional authority in foreign policy and trade, that he's launched military operations without congressional approval, that he's used emergency economic powers in ways that violate the law, and that all of this constitutes abuse of power and usurpation of congressional war powers. Article 4 is about First Amendment violations. Trump has attacked the press. He's tried to use government power to punish media outlets that criticize him. He's threatened reporters. And the resolution argues that using presidential power to suppress free speech is a high crime. That the First Amendment isn't just a suggestion, it's a fundamental constitutional right that the president is sworn to uphold. And when he violates it, when he uses his office to attack free expression, that's impeachable. Article 5 is creating an unlawful office. This is a bit more technical, but it's about Trump setting up positions or structures within the executive branch that Congress never authorized. Basically, expanding presidential power unilaterally. Article 6 is bribery and corruption. This covers allegations that Trump has used his office for personal enrichment, that he's directed government business to his properties, that he's taken payments from foreign governments, that he's violated Emma's clauses, and bribery is explicitly mentioned in Article 2, Section 4 as an impeachable offense. So if Trump has engaged in bribery or corruption, that's a textbook case for removal. And then Article 7, tyranny. This is the big one. This is the article that basically says Trump has acted like a king instead of a president, that he's claimed unlimited power, that he's defied courts and Congress, that he's attacked democratic institutions, and that this pattern of behavior amounts to tyranny, the exact thing the founders were trying to prevent when they wrote Article 2. So when you look at all 7 articles together, what you're seeing is a comprehensive constitutional argument for removal. The resolution isn't just saying Trump did bad things. It's saying he violated his oath of office. He exceeded his constitutional authority. He committed high crimes and misdemeanors as defined in Article 2, and therefore he shall be removed. That's the legal framework. And then there's ACH.RES 939, the resolution about Trump calling for lawmakers to be executed. This one is focused on a specific incident, but it goes to the heart of Article 2. Because if a president is using his platform and his power to incite violence against members of Congress, that's an attack on the legislative branch. That's an attempt to intimidate or eliminate political opponents. And that's tyranny. That's exactly what impeachment is designed to address. So, Representative Green filed a resolution saying this conduct is impeachable. This violates Article 2, and Trump should be removed. Now, let's talk about the political reality. Because having impeachment resolutions filed is one thing. Actually, impeaching and removing Trump is another. The House can impeach with a simple majority. So, if Democrats take control of the House in November 2026, they'd have enough votes to impeach Trump on any or all of these articles. But removal requires a Senate conviction, and that takes 2/3 of senators, 67 votes. Right now, the Senate is pretty evenly divided. So you'd need basically every Democrat plus a significant number of Republicans to vote to convict. And historically, that's been nearly impossible. Trump was impeached twice before, in 2019 over Ukraine, in 2021 over January 6th. Both times the House impeached him. Both times the Senate acquitted. Republican senators voted overwhelmingly to protect him. So the big question is, would this time be different? Would Republicans actually vote to remove Trump under Article 2? And the answer depends on a few things. First, political pressure. If public opinion turns strongly against Trump, if his approval rating crashes, if voters are demanding accountability, then Republican senators might feel pressure to convict. They might decide protecting Trump is more politically damaging than removing him. Second, the severity of the charges. The current impeachment resolutions include really serious allegations: tyranny, bribery, usurping war powers, inciting violence against lawmakers. These aren't small things. If the evidence is strong, if the case is clear, some Republicans might conclude that Trump really has crossed constitutional lines that require removal. Third, Trump's political power. If Trump looks weak, if he's losing elections, if his grip on the party is fading, Republicans might feel safer turning on him. But if he's still politically dominant, if his base is still loyal, senators will be afraid of primary challenges and will vote to acquit. So removal is a long shot, but it's not impossible. And that's what makes these Article 2 resolutions significant, because they're building the case. They're documenting Trump's abuses. They're creating a formal record that can be used if and when the political conditions are right for removal. And there's another angle here, the 25th Amendment. Some lawmakers, including Senator Ed Markey, are calling for Trump to be removed under the 25th Amendment instead of impeachment. The 25th Amendment allows the Vice President and Cabinet to declare the President unable to discharge his duties. And Markey is arguing that Trump's Greenland obsession, his erratic trade threats, his war powers abuses, all of that shows he's unfit, that he's not capable of responsibly exercising presidential power. So maybe the answer isn't impeachment under Article 2. Maybe it's 25th Amendment removal. Now that's even harder politically because it requires the Vice President to turn on the President, and it requires a majority of the Cabinet, and Trump's Vice President and Cabinet are loyalists. So they're not going to invoke the 25th Amendment unless Trump is literally incapacitated. But the fact that a senator is publicly calling for it shows how serious the removal conversation has become. And here's what ties it all together. Whether it's Article 2 impeachment or 25th Amendment removal, the underlying argument is the same. Trump has abused his power. He's violated the Constitution. He's acted tyrannically. And the Constitution provides remedies for that. It gives Congress and the executive branch tools to remove a president who's unfit or criminal or tyrannical. And lawmakers are now openly saying we need to use those tools. We need to invoke Article 2. We need to end Trump's regime before he does more damage. That's not normal political rhetoric. That's constitutional crisis language. And it shows how far things have deteriorated, that members of Congress are seriously discussing using the ultimate check on presidential power, removal from office, because they believe Trump has become that dangerous. Okay, so let's talk about what this actually means and where things go from here. Because you've got impeachment resolutions filed, you've got Article 2 being invoked as the constitutional basis for removal. You've got lawmakers calling for Trump to be removed, either through impeachment or the 25th Amendment. And the question is, will any of this actually happen? Will Trump's regime actually end, or is this all just political theater? Well, the answer depends heavily on the November 2026 midterms, because right now Republicans control the House, and Republican leadership isn't going to bring impeachment resolutions to a vote. They're not going to impeach their own president. So these resolutions 353 and H-Res 939, they're sitting there filed on the record, but not moving forward. However, if Democrats take the House in November, everything changes, because then Democrats control what gets voted on. And they've already made it clear that impeachment is on the table. Multiple Democratic representatives have filed resolutions. Advocacy groups are organizing the bases demanding it. So, if Democrats win the House, impeachment becomes very likely. And here's what that process would look like. First, the House Judiciary Committee would hold hearings. They'd call witnesses, they'd review evidence, they'd debate the articles of impeachment. Then, if the committee votes to advance the articles, it goes to the full House for a vote. And if a majority of the House votes yes, Trump is impeached again for the third time. That would be historic. No president has ever been impeached 3 times. And just that fact alone would be politically devastating for Trump, because it cements his legacy as the most investigated, most accused, most constitutionally challenged president in American history. But impeachment is only step 1. To actually remove Trump, you need Senate conviction. The House impeaches, the Senate holds a trial, and if 2/3 of senators vote to convict, Trump is removed from office. That's 67 votes. And right now, getting 67 senators to vote against Trump seems nearly impossible, because you'd need every Democrat plus 17 Republicans. And while there are some Republicans who privately dislike Trump, very few have shown willingness to actually vote to remove him. But, and this is important, circumstances can change. If Trump keeps defying court orders, if more scandals break, if the economy crashes because of his tariff threats, if his approval rating plummets, the political calculation for Republican senators changes. They might start thinking protecting Trump is going to cost us our seats. Our constituents are turning against him. Maybe removal is actually the safer political move. And if that calculation shifts for enough senators, removal becomes possible. It's still a long shot, but it's not zero. And the fact that impeachment resolutions are already filed means Democrats would be ready to move quickly if the opportunity arises. They wouldn't have to spend months drafting articles. They're already written. They're already citing Article 2. The legal framework is already established. All that's missing is the political will and the votes. Now let's talk about what impeachment and potential removal mean for Trump's ability to govern. Because even if Trump doesn't get removed, even if the Senate acquits him again, the impeachment process itself is incredibly damaging. It dominates the news cycle for months. It forces Trump to focus on defending himself instead of advancing his agenda. It gives Democrats a platform to investigate every aspect of his presidency. It puts Republicans in uncomfortable positions where they have to choose between defending Trump's conduct and upholding constitutional principles. And all of that weakens Trump politically. It makes him look embattled. It makes him look like a president barely hanging on. And for a guy whose whole brand is strength and dominance, that's devastating. So even if removal doesn't happen, impeachment still matters. It still constrains Trump. It still creates political costs. And here's the other angle. These Article 2 resolutions are building a historical record. Every charge, every piece of evidence, every constitutional argument, it's all being documented. And that matters for history. It matters for how Trump's presidency is remembered. And it matters for future accountability. Because even if Trump doesn't get removed while he's in office, he could still face consequences after criminal prosecution, civil lawsuits, historical judgment, and the impeachment resolutions. The formal charges that cite Article 2, those become part of the evidence. They become part of the case that Trump violated his constitutional oath, that he committed high crimes and misdemeanors, that he should never have been president and should face accountability for his abuses. So filing these resolutions isn't pointless, even if they don't lead to immediate removal. They serve a purpose. They document the abuses. They preserve the evidence. They make a statement that what Trump is doing is wrong and unconstitutional. Now, let's talk about the political messaging around Article 2. Because Democrats are using this constitutional language very deliberately. They're not just saying Trump is bad or we don't like his policies. They're saying Trump has violated Article 2 of the Constitution. He has committed high crimes and misdemeanors. He must be removed under the constitutional framework our founders established. That's powerful messaging because it takes the fight out of the realm of partisan politics and puts it in the realm of constitutional law. It says this isn't about Democrat versus Republican. This is about upholding the Constitution. This is about preserving the rule of law. This is about using the tools the founders gave us to check a tyrannical president. And for voters who care about constitutional principles, who worry about executive overreach, who think Trump has gone too far, that message resonates. It gives them a framework for understanding why removal is necessary. Not because Democrats hate Trump, but because the Constitution demands it. And here's how this ties into everything else we've been covering. Trump is facing pressure from every direction. Courts are blocking his policies. The Senate voted to limit his war powers. Wall Street is dumping U.S. assets over his economic chaos. His lawyers are getting sanctioned. His attorney general is under contempt threats. And now Congress is moving to impeach him under Article 2 for tyranny and abuse of power. It's all the same pattern. Trump is acting outside constitutional bounds, and institutions are pushing back. Some are pushing back through judicial rulings, some through legislative action, some through market mechanisms. But they're all saying the same thing. Trump has gone too far. He's violated norms and laws and constitutional limits, and there have to be consequences, and Article 2 impeachment is the ultimate consequence. It's Congress saying you've abused your power so severely that you need to be removed from office. That's as serious as it gets. So when you step back and look at the big picture, what you're seeing is a presidency in constitutional crisis. You've got formal impeachment resolutions citing Article 2. You've got lawmakers calling for removal. You've got advocacy campaigns organizing around constitutional language. You've got the 25th Amendment being discussed as an alternative removal mechanism. All of it points to the same conclusion. Trump's regime is unsustainable. Whether he gets removed through impeachment or 25th Amendment or just serves out his term and faces prosecution afterward, his presidency is defined by constitutional violations and removal efforts. And that's his legacy, not strength, not success, but constant crisis and institutional pushback against his abuses of power. And Article 2 is at the center of it all, because Article 2 is the constitutional provision that allows removal, and members of Congress are now saying it's time to use it. Trump has committed high crimes and misdemeanors. He's acted tyrannically, and the Constitution demands his removal. Whether that actually happens depends on the midterms and political will, but the framework is there. The charges are filed, and the constitutional clock is ticking. All right, that's it for today. If you want to stay on top of this story and the impeachment push against Trump, subscribe, hit the bell, and join the newsletter down below. Because trust me, this is building towards something. Article 2 is in play, and Trump's regime might actually end. We'll see you in the next.